Hey there, guys. This is Kellis and Kenny from True North Social. We're a digital marketing agency based in Los Angeles, and today we're going to talk to you about how to create your strategy for social media marketing and how you might get started. We've been doing this for over a decade, so we're going to try and share our tips and tricks, our experience over the years, and help give you an idea of how we get started with our clients, how we build brand awareness for them, and how we use social media to create engagement with their customers. So let's get started.
Great. Thanks, Kel.
Let's talk about when we get started with a new client. Obviously, there's clients are in a lot of different industries and they're doing all sorts of different things. They might be in a variety of different places in terms of where they need to start.
Yeah.
But assuming we're talking about somebody who's kind of starting from the beginning, what I have seen you work with in terms of a lot of those clients is essentially like they probably got a great business, but they're not doing much in terms of their social media or their online marketing.
Yeah.
They've got an Instagram or a Facebook account or Twitter or something, which means that they've opened an account. They've started one. They published a little bit of content to it here or there, but they're not really sure what they're doing. They're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing, and they're not really organized. So they come to you, to us, and try and figure out, well, how are we going to make this work? When you sit down and talk with them, what is that conversation usually like in terms of how to get started?
Yeah, I mean, we have different clients come on board at different starting points in their social journey, let's say. And I usually will break it down into phases, but I think we can kind of get into that in a little bit. But usually, like when I'm first talking to a client, I mean, I've had a chance to take a look at their website. I've had a chance to probably just take a brief look at their Instagram. And there are some things that I noticed right off the bat. In terms of like analytics metrics, the way the account looks, the way the website looks, I can see like what ads they're running actively currently. So like how deep they are into that side of things, if they're using influencers, this or that. But I would say like the majority of clients when they first come on board are like they maybe have like a social media person in-house, or they might have like a marketing director in-house who's like has an assistant, or one of them are kind of like half doing the social media, but then they would really like someone to take it seriously.
I think pretty commonly this responsibility falls to an assistant or somebody where their primary job is not social media. Sometimes their primary job is just doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whatever needs to get done. It's like, oh, why don't we have this person do some social media? And you're kind of picking it up from there.
Yeah. I mean, small to medium-sized businesses are who we're talking to the most. We definitely have worked with some people that are like well-known, like name brand companies. But, you know,
even with them, a lot of times,
even with them, there definitely is sometimes a team that is not really pulling it off the way that higher ups would like it to be.
I think a lot of times maybe they've had more experience with different types of marketing that aren't social media. You know, it's their job to do co-branding, or maybe they've had ads placed in magazines, or they've worked with other vendors who do similar things to us, but the people they have working in-house, like they never did social media or digital marketing as a job per se.
Yeah. Also, we have to keep in mind everyone's working within some type of budget.
Sure.
And like hiring one person to do social media, I'm using quotes if you're just listening to the podcast.
Sure.
There are so many facets to social media at this point. Like you could have one full-time person, photographer, creating content, graphics. Super technical part of it is, building and scaling ad campaigns, influencer campaigns, micro influencer or macro. Like having one person be an expert at all these things is, just unlikely.
I don't think you even mentioned writing content.
Didn't even get into
scheduling.
And also let's not forget that we're not just talking about Instagram anymore. We've got TikTok, which is not, I was going to say around the corner, but it's here and it's here to stay.
Sure.
So you're now creating content for multiple platforms. I don't know how much content people are creating for Facebook anymore, so we don't really need to have that in the conversation. But yeah, this is why I think sometimes marketing director will come to an agency, is because they can hire an agency that might cost the same as like a full-time person, but at the agency they're getting multiple different people that are experts in specific different things, like almost for the same cost as hiring someone full-time. Depending on what level of expertise that person at full-time has. But honestly, even a social media, let's just call it like specialist or expert or manager coming into a company and taking over that role full time, I still don't think that they're going to know how to scale and manage ad campaigns properly. I mean, we hire people all the time who are social media coordinators and managers, and I'm not putting them in the role of managing ad spend. You need to really be like an expert at that. But we can go back real quick to like talking to a client, like what do we first look at with them and that whole thing, because I don't want to pass over it too deep. But yeah, I mean, here's kind of like where I see the majority of people is they're doing social media like half effort. You know, they're posting regularly. They're probably not running ads, or if they are, they're not really performing very well. They're maybe doing some influencer stuff, but they're just probably have like a gifting campaign where they're just sending out free product to a bunch of micro influencers, which is not bad to build trust with your brand, but it's not like taking it to the next level. So they're all like, they're doing everything, but at a very elementary level. And so that's the majority of people where they are. And usually like, I mean, I want to get into strategy with someone like that in a second, but I would say the next level up from that would be someone who maybe does have someone managing their Facebook ads, but then their content side of stuff is lacking. Like they don't have a full-time photographer, or they're outsourcing to too many different places.
I'm glad you mentioned this, if I can jump in for a second, because I feel like there's really two very different things that you're kind of getting at and bouncing back and forth between. But to me, they're very different things when I see you do them. And one is content creation, right? Because like social media requires, it's like a little mouth to feed. Like you have to constantly be feeding it content, and you have to be giving it something creative to show people all the time. And producing that and organizing it is one thing. But then I keep hearing you mentioning Facebook ads and the way I have seen you use Facebook ads basically falls into two ways, and they're very different. The way we use Facebook ads to build engagement and following for social media is very different than running a direct ad campaign the way you traditionally, I think of Facebook ads. So I'm just going to break this up a little bit. Can we talk about content first and figuring out like a content strategy?
Yeah, actually, let's do it slightly different. I think I'd rather break it into brand awareness versus conversion.
I like that.
And real quick, just to clarify for all the listeners, when we say Facebook ads, we mean Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
I feel like all the time I'm talking to clients and they're like, oh, are you going to run ads on Instagram too? Yes. Okay. But Facebook is, the umbrella, which you choose where you're going to place ads. And sometimes you may place ads on Instagram.
For people who don't know, Facebook Ad Manager runs ads on Facebook as well as Instagram.
But I'm just going to say Facebook ads.
Sure.
Because that's what, us in the biz call it. Okay. Yeah. So brand awareness. Here's kind of a key thing and I talk to people about this all the time. You get to these pages, an Instagram page, and the first thing I want to do is I want to get someone's attention in like 5 seconds. I want someone to immediately land on the page and the feed to flow. Everything is super well branded. Maybe you've got reels posted on there. You've got videos. You've got different types of content going. You've got a story posted currently. So you got the ring around your avatar. Like it is active. All your highlights are branded in some way. And the reason that I want that immediate grab is because we're going to be running probably promotions with Facebook ads / Instagram ads, and then also influencers. And you have such a small window when people see the brand and come over to your profile for them to be like, I'm interested or I'm not interested. And so I would say a lot of clients that come on board immediately, like the first thing is we need to work on the way your page looks. And this is going to probably include like a lifestyle shoot regularly, not one, a product photography, which includes flat lays and other types of, anything in studio basically. And then I think some short form video, because really Instagram is pushing short form video. I mean, I've never seen anyone direct copy like a social media platform more than Instagram's Reels with TikTok.
Yeah.
They know that the short form video keeps people on the app longer. And the longer that they can keep people on the app, the more ads they can serve.
So if I can jump in here for a second, for people who are unfamiliar with us in True North Social, my side of the business is websites. And here's where I think this overlaps a lot is you started off this topic by talking about getting someone's attention immediately. And that goes across the board for almost every digital marketing channel I can think of, because The internet is short attention span theater. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't get somebody immediately, they're moving on to the next thing.
Hmm.
They're not going to wait around for you.
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time, well, how do you do that? And the first part of that answer is great content, right? And when I say great content, I mean, like, you need to shoot photography and produce video that is produced, that gets people's attention. And I think part of the magic of our agency is we're able to produce that content, which can go on social media, it can go on the website, it can go through ads. So there's a cohesive story as you go from one to the other. But I think a lot of people think of working on their social media and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna post a bunch of stuff about whatever I'm doing, and I'll
Yeah.
just shoot a bunch of stuff with my phone. And you can get away with that to a certain degree, but at some point right now, the market is so competitive, right? If the other people who are in your industry that you're competing with they're producing this short form video content and getting
Yeah.
people's attention, and they're producing photography that helps people understand this is the lifestyle of people in my product. Like, this is why you want it. This is why my product is great. If they're doing that and you're not, well, why would customers want to participate in what you're doing instead of what somebody else is doing? But I think that part it's easy to skip over if you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah, Reels, short form video, keeping people on the app longer so that they can serve, Instagram can serve ads to you. Like, that's their whole goal. You need to produce on Instagram to keep people engaged. But I think taking it back, this is probably where we'll jump back in. The reason that we want to get someone intrigued within 5 seconds on the Instagram profile is because we're looking for like a follow. We want to grow the account, right? And we're going to be doing influencer management. Probably there are a lot of things that are going to be pushing back to the profile. And we just have such a short window to grab them and add them, and they can become part of our audience. So, and I see this is where I think a lot of like in-house social media management falls short. And to be honest with you, a lot of social media agencies, because we get a lot of times people coming to us that have been like, I've gone through 3 or 4 social media agencies and blah, blah, blah. I mean, listen, sometimes clients can be unrealistic. That's the fact. But when someone's gone through like 3 or 4 places and you look at their page and like it's clearly not up to par, then they're just not getting in touch with the right people. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, at True North, a big focus for me and the team is I want to have that flow. Like, before I even look at captions or read anything that anyone's written, the top part of like our calendars will just have the visual layout. This is common. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel here. But I want to look at that thing like it's a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always have to be like the exact color, but I want it to look clean. It needs to have something that I'm like, we're going to get someone's attention. Once you have their attention, keeping them attentive is a whole nother piece of strategy. But initially, like, just harking back to like, what is the first conversation with a client who's kind of in that space right there, where like they have someone in-house who's not really pulling it off, or like an agency who's not really pulling it off. Like, that's the first conversation. Look, feel, flow,
Mm-hmm.
how well the Instagram account is grabbing people's attention. And then from there, we can build on the next steps. But usually like phase 1, well, we can jump into some phases, but like I think phase 1 is making sure that it's well branded, the look and feel. And then phase 2 is maybe digging into a little bit more like, can we create some content that's unique and keeps people coming back? Because if we're just going to, I don't mind if you're selling like a soft drink, there's only really so much content you can do. You can take really good product photography, you can have influencers, and you can build up your page that way. And that's fine. You've completed phase 1 if it looks good and clean and it's grabbing someone's attention in the first 5 seconds. And you'll know if this is being effective because, I mean, the way that I'm always running ads for followers and ads for engagement, because at this day and age, Instagram is pay to play. So if anyone's telling under the assumption that it's not pay to play, like now, I mean, years ago, we were like, Facebook's so pay to play. Instagram is like more pay to play at this point. I mean, if you open up your Instagram right now and you start scrolling, like, the first 20 things I see are meme accounts and funny videos before I even get to like a post of a brand. Even though I like the brand, it's just all based on how long of a video someone's watched, and they're going to serve you more videos like that. And if you're watching a lot of funny videos, that's what your feed's going to be full of. So in order to get placement further back up the feed, I honestly think every single post should be promoted, and we should constantly be running ads for followers. There can be like a gimmick or like a something that's going to be offered to people, an ad for followers, but that's kind of like a whole nother, I think, podcast. It's like discussing those things, the strategies behind those things. But I do know that we get a lot of clients coming to us working from other people, and they're not doing that. And I don't think it's being done a lot at all. And I go look at some of these other Instagram big brands, Instagram accounts who have 100,000, 200, 500,000 followers, and they're getting like 150 likes on a post, 50 likes on a post, 200, 40, like tiny numbers in comparison to how much their follower count is. And their followers may be legit, but it's just not,
So let me dig into this for a second, because I think this is maybe something that people aren't aware of, mostly because Instagram and Facebook have these algorithms and they change all the time, right? And I think you mentioned something about a couple of years ago, you could just post something to Instagram and it would get seen by a lot of people. And over the years, it has been throttled down as Instagram, as it was acquired by Facebook, has become much more pay to play. And, the idea that you might be a pretty big brand, right? You might have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. And I have seen this too. I noticed because we work together, big accounts with several million followers post stuff and they get like 150 likes or, 20 comments on something. And I go, how is it possible that an account with this many followers has so few likes and so few comments? And it's because the app is feeding it to so few people, and even big brands make this mistake of not promoting their stuff. And here's the real kicker. As I talked to you in the office about this and have conversations about it, it seems like it's not super expensive to promote this stuff in a lot of cases.
It just depends on the client size. Yeah. On the client's budget.
Yeah. What's expensive is all relative, granted.
And again, I think we could have a whole nother episode on strategy behind how ads for followers or ads for engagement should be set up. Listen, in a perfect world, we all have a huge budget and we can target super narrow and it costs what it costs, but we get the engagement from the audience exactly to the T that we want.
Sure.
But I think a majority of the clients that, I work with regularly are going to be, I usually run like a 50-50 style where I'm doing a pretty wide audience and a narrow audience. So I'm getting the narrow, but I'm getting the wide for the numbers, the narrow for like really just making sure we're at least hitting like the exact audience we want. But there's something to be said. I mean, I don't want to discount follower count.
Sure.
It still is extremely important for reputation. And I'm not saying go out and buy followers, because then you're really hurting your account. But there's ways to get real followers, either through ads or through influencers. I mean, and depending on your budget, going fast or going slow to get to that, that marker. But I think that that it definitely is reputable to have a high follower count. But then it's also not reputable if your follower count is high and your engagement is low.
Sure.
So, but you could fix the engagement thing at a super low budget.
That's what I was getting
This is going to be controversial. I don't know, who's seeing this or listening to this, but I could have a ad. I actually set up a system that's automated that grabs every single post that we do and promotes it for just $5. Tiny. This is for just a small to medium sized business.
Yeah.
Let's say we're doing 20 posts a month and we promote every post for $5. That's like $100 in a month.
Yeah.
Nothing. And we're talking about targeting only in the USA. Anyone that's listening that maybe knows about ad targeting knows that you could target wide for some crazy things. Like if I wanted to just target India or something, I could do like crazy numbers, but I don't know how helpful that is for anyone. So just in the United States, with interest based on like whatever the brand is, and we get 200, 300, 500, 600 likes
for a couple of bucks
for nothing, like less than a coffee a day, and brands aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Definitely clients that are like looking for a new agency are not doing it.
Right.
Even brands that I reach out to that I would really like to work with, who maybe are working with someone else, I mention it and they're just like, okay, well, and you know what? Let's move on to the next thing though, real quick, because I think, do you have a question?
Well, no, I just wanted to, so we're talking about strategy here, right? And content we were just talking about, like, that is obviously a huge part of the strategy, because if the way we're presenting content is mediocre, if it's lackluster, then
Right.
people are just not going to pay attention. But then now where I think we're going, the other half of this is eyeballs, right? Like, we need to get followers, we need to get people to see all this great content that we're producing, and there is a whole strategy on that. So I guess maybe I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
dude. I
transition.
mean, listen, push me in the right direction. Because I could go on and on into these things. I
and
could
it's
spiral into each thing we're
let's
talking
get
about.
nerdy.
But a lot of brands are focusing heavily on the content on their page, and I think it is important. Like, again,
Hmm.
I think that having it well branded is number one.
Sure.
Like, that's the first thing we're doing.
Sure.
But I also don't want to overinvest in just the content on the page. Like, listen, if you can get like someone to create some recurring photography for you, like a few recurring videos a month,
Mhm.
make sure that you're touching on the brand selling points regularly in a fun way.
Mhm.
Great. Let's just go back to like the like a CPG, like, let's just talk about like a drink or something again.
Sure.
Use that as our example. There's only so much cool content you can create unless some crazy trend happens, that you could follow along with.
Sure.
But other than that, like, keep your page consistent, keep it good looking, keep it well themed,
Hmm.
flowing, and then you can't just focus on just who's following your page. Like, I know we're going to have let's say we have ads running for followers and maybe a giveaway with an ad running for followers. That
Mhm.
is going to increase those numbers dramatically.
Hmm.
And then you have your engagement stuff going on. But that's still just like, you got to think about how many eyeballs are seeing your brand.
Hmm.
And like, organically, real quick, only so many people are going to see your stuff. We're
Sure.
already talking about it being pay to play.
Organically.
Let's just say we have 10,000 people following an account. Maybe like 300 are going to see a post
Mhm.
naturally.
Yeah.
These days.
Yeah.
And that's not even an exaggeration. So unless you're creating a lot of reels and things that are making people engage consistently, but we're talking about a brand. We're talking about like your average Joe. I have like a, sugar-free new soda brand.
Hmm.
Like, there's only so many reels and stuff you can create on your page.
Sure.
So you just hit this wall where you can't really do much more. And that's where you need to start looking at influencers or other people's audiences to become your audience.
Hmm.
Because how can you get new eyeballs on the page if it's not just people on your page? You've got
Mhm.
those people. We checked it off. We post regularly.
Sure.
Fine. But yes, and I think micro influencers are great for building brand trust and brand awareness. Like, it also helps you really create some content that's not super expensive.
Hmm.
Because having some influencers, and a lot of big brands are moving this direction and less away from this high produced content.
Sure.
And more to this just natural shot in an iPhone. I'm a person with your beverage.
There's something to be said
smiling.
for the
Yeah.
authenticity
Yeah.
of a lack
Yeah.
of production.
The classic, like, I'm in the kitchen and just got out of the
Yeah, yeah.
gym, whey protein shot.
Oh, hey, I
Like
didn't see you
that
there.
thing. Yeah. But I think it's still good for content. Hey,
Sure.
listen, sometimes that's, maybe more
I mean,
often
if
than
that's
not,
what people buy,
that's probably
right?
a more interesting picture to look at than like, a really cool product shot where they're like stuff's balancing. At least you have like a person in a shot and they're saying something about it.
Sure.
But I think a combination of all those things together
Yeah.
is important. But quick though, if that micro influencer has 10,000 followers and they post, but they have good engagement probably because they're shooting videos of themselves and probably providing their audience like insightful stuff about their lives, their engagement rate's probably much higher than a brand.
Mm.
And now if they have 10,000 followers, maybe 2,000 of their followers see everything they post and they post about you. Now you've got 2,000 more people that just saw it. If you times that by 10 influencers, now you have 20,000. Maybe you only have 15,000 followers. You just got, by using 10 influencers,
Mhm.
more people that even see any of your content when you post throughout the month
Mhm.
to see it. Like 20,000 new impressions, let's say.
Mhm.
It's probably much higher than that, but I just want to be realistic.
Sure.
And then if we start using macro influencers, I mean, let's just
By that you mean just
much higher follower,
influencers with
much
bigger
higher
following.
count.
Yeah.
Then the number is just exponentially higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think a little combination of both. And if we're going to touch on influencers, I think the key thing is tracking them, like
Mm.
getting some screenshots of their analytics after they post for you, if that's part of the deliverable. Preferably you're using influencers that you're paying and not gifting. Because if you're just gifting, they're getting gifted by everyone and they've got so much of just like them with a new product, them with a new product, them with a new product.
Sure.
It's just like, and it's still, I think, good for you to reuse their post on your page, but it doesn't build a lot of brand trust on their audience. Their
Mhm.
audience already knows like, oh, this girl or guy just posts whatever.
Sure.
Anything that someone will
Sure.
send them for free, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and so definitely like having a budget for those people and then tracking them. If you're using discount codes, if you're trying to push website conversions, you may have like a discount code that the person uses and you can track
Mhm.
like, did it work or did it not work? And then listen,
Mhm.
if you get some people that are working even a little bit, key thing with an influencer is to reuse someone regularly. So they almost become, tell clients it like this, like we want to create like a street team, like a skate team almost.
Mhm.
Like we have a core, like 8 or 10 people, let's just say for an average size client, who constantly post about the brand. And
Mhm.
we have on a retainer of some kind. And they get new product every month regularly. And we know that they're going to post, 4 times a month and do like 8 stories a month, like
Mhm.
talk about the brand a lot. I mean, in a perfect world, you might even be linked in their bio somewhere to you.
Mm.
But we're talking about more cash if you're going to have
Sure.
something like that.
Sure.
But yeah, so more eyeballs than just what's on your page.
Mhm.
Like that would be the next phase. You're well branded. Maybe you're running some minor ads just for engagement and followers, not for conversion,
Mhm.
because we're still talking about brand awareness.
Sure.
Just to reiterate, we're still
Right,
talking
right,
about
right.
brand awareness. And then introducing some influencers to build a little more brand trust, get more brand awareness through their audience. And then I think really the next phase is Facebook/Instagram ads for conversion and scaling campaigns around that.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
just for our
Yeah.
audience at home, when we talk about social media for brand awareness versus social media,
Yeah.
or I guess anything for conversion, tell me about what that means.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
how do you explain that to clients?
Yeah. Brand awareness is just people who see your brand.
Mm-hmm.
They're aware of your brand.
Yeah.
If we want to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Conversion is conversions on your website, sales.
People buying things. Or
things.
generating leads,
Yeah.
something like that.
But brand awareness can be, I would say some metrics that are involved around it are impressions, reach. And this could be around conversion as well.
Sure.
But conversion, I really think the main thing is conversion. That's the metric that we're mostly, but there are some metrics that I think overlap on both. And that's
Sure.
probably maybe where, I don't know if it needs clarification, but either way, on brand awareness, like how many people we're reaching, the impressions, how many likes we're getting,
Mhm.
shares, how many saves posts are getting. All
Mhm.
of these things, by the way, affect algorithm,
Mhm.
but that's definitely not get into the algorithm on this podcast. In fact, if you want to learn about an algorithm, just Google Instagram or TikTok algorithm, and there'll be about 50,000
We can do
videos
another podcast on that.
YouTube about
Yeah.
that. And it changes all the time.
Yeah.
Because I follow a lot of these guys too who do videos on those things, and it's
Mhm.
just, they're constantly like new Instagram algorithm update.
Yeah.
So those are like, I think, I mentioned followers, right? So let's mention followers, likes, saves, shares, reach, impression.
Mhm.
The mains. Conversion, I think, is a little bit more like cost per 1,000 people reached, or link clicks is going to be important.
Mhm.
Add to cart, and then
Mhm.
I think the final one, an actual conversion.
So when we run ads for conversion, usually what we're trying to do is get somebody to go to a website
Yeah.
and buy something or sign up for something that you're trying to get somebody's money. It doesn't always have to be that way, but
Yeah.
usually that's what you're trying to do. So when you run ads
Mhm.
on Instagram or Facebook,
Yeah.
there are different things you can try and get people to do. On the brand awareness side, you can run an ad that is something like, we want to try and get people to follow this account. We want to try and get people to engage. There are a couple of things that are not necessarily, that are conversions, but they don't result in a sale,
Right.
let's say. Whereas the other type of ads, you're trying to get someone to buy this t-shirt, buy this bag of coffee, right? Buy something.
Yeah.
And that's where what we think of as social media management, where social media strategy is not about building brand awareness anymore. It's about trying to make a sale, right?
Mhm.
But what I've seen us do, there are certain types of products or certain types of businesses where you need both. And I think in those cases, it's things where either the cost of those things might be a little bit higher, right? You might need a little bit more brand awareness to buy a product that costs $500 than one that costs $50, right? You might be doing a little bit more research if the price point is a little bit higher. And the other one is if you're trying to get repeat customers all the time, like if you were running, say, like a grocery store,
Mhm.
right? And you're trying to let people know, hey, we're having sales, it's Thanksgiving, come buy your turkey from us, right? You're trying to get people to convert in some way, but you're trying to constantly be in their face and build this brand awareness of what you're doing all the time. And this is where I think social media for brand awareness really shines, right? Is because assuming you're paying those extra couple of dollars to promote all your content. Mm-hmm. Well, now that you've built up a following, you've got several thousand, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people following you, and you push an extra couple of dollars behind that, and all of a sudden everybody is aware of what you're doing. And maybe the sale doesn't directly immediately follow it, but maybe it follows it several times after that. It follows over and over again, or it just instead of you're just not selling a product where you can collect $50 at a time, you're just showing this to people over and over, and you collect a big sale from them all at once. And that's kind of what I've seen us do there.
I think that they overlap.
Yeah.
They definitely help each other.
Sure.
I mean, I will say brand awareness definitely helps the conversion / sales side of things. I mean, I was just talking to my main ad manager the other day, and he was explaining to not a potential client, it was a client we're working with. He was explaining to them, 7-day attribution window, which is basically Facebook trying to take credit for a sale within 7 days of someone seeing an ad or clicking on an ad. And, a lot of times people will see an Instagram ad, then go over to the Instagram profile, not check out from the ad, but they'll go over to the Instagram profile, take a look at it. Is it well branded? Are there people on there talking about it that's not just them talking about themselves? Like, do they have influencers involved, for example? How many followers do they have? What's their engagement rate like? Are they getting comments? All of these factors are coming into their brain before they make a decision to buy something from this brand. And maybe they forget about it even then. Maybe they go, that's the end of their day at work, and they're just like BSing on their phone.
Yeah.
They put it away. They go back home. They're like, oh, I forgot about that brand. They just go directly to their website and buy a product. That's still brand awareness working for sure. I mean, the Facebook ad worked.
Yes.
Because that was the first thing they saw. Yeah. But then they went and decided, is this brand trustworthy? And then eventually made a decision. It is. I want to buy this.
This is an interesting point, because I literally did this last week. Like, I got an ad from, I can't remember if it was Nike or Under Armour. I like them both, right? Yeah. But they had some coupon for 30% off or something, and I clicked on it. It opened it up. And I like to open these things up in the browser on my phone and check out from there. But in the middle of that, I don't know if it was my wife giving me something to do or my daughter coming up to me or a client calling. I got so many things interrupting me all the time that I didn't make it all the way through. But then when I was back on Instagram, I can't remember if it was later that day or the next day, I saw this. I saw it again on my Instagram feed, and I was like, oh, I meant to buy that. And I didn't. Yeah, exactly.
It knows.
So I went back and I completed that purchase. And I don't think I went through Instagram again because I already had this browser thing open on my phone. So I just went back to that.
Yep.
And the interesting thing, you're mentioning the 7-day window. Facebook will track me as a sale from that ad. But from what I know about our clients, when you look at Google Analytics or when you look at Shopify does not, because I didn't click straight through in that same session and buy things. So depending on how you track what is working and what is not, different types of tools will give you a little bit different reporting on what you're doing. And this is all super important if if your ad is just, or if your strategy, I should say, is about, we want people to know about our business. We want to remind them of what we're doing all the time. Then when people know about what you're doing, you've succeeded. But if your only goal is, I need to make a sale right now, then maybe that could be happening and you just don't know about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're touching on tracking with Facebook ads, which I think I would love to have some specifically Facebook ads guys on here. Maybe even not just our guys, If actually, what would be cool is our guys talking to other
Can we find some Facebook guys?
Yeah,
I know they're down in Playa over here.
Well, first of all, they'd all sit here and they would complain with each other about tracking and how they've changed everything. Everyone knows that Facebook went through all this data privacy situation and it's caused a lot of headaches for ads managers.
Yeah.
I think what it's boiling down to at this point, though, just to like not have a whole conversation about that, is even if it's Google Analytics may be tracking it one way, Facebook ads is tracking it another way, some other reporting tools tracking it in another. You might have like 4 different things tracking stuff, and your Shopify store showing a certain number.
Yeah.
I think like a good way is just like are your sales going up from running ads?
Well, that's the big thing at the end, because this doesn't necessarily apply to just Facebook or Instagram. You could be talking about Twitter or TikTok or whatever else comes out tomorrow, right? And this is one of the tricky things that we have found about doing all of this is attribution, right? But at the end of the day, you want to know what your goals are, right? And you can obviously have more than one, but at the end of the day, you want to see your business grow no matter what, right? And if you can see over the course of time from doing this, either my business is growing and we should double down on what we're doing, or you see my business is not growing, which means that
and it doesn't need
we're not doing this right. We need to change up what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, different ad spends are going to result in different opinions from different clients.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have a client who's not even spending that much. And then if they're like, if it can't be tracked exactly, then I can't invest,
Yeah.
Then don't. I mean, would be my answer.
Sure. Yeah.
But you got to look at everything and make informed decisions based on the data. And like, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on that. I know quite a bit about it, but it's also not my full-time job to manage that part. So I don't want to speak to it, too much, because we could have a Facebook ads guy on here and he could tell me I don't know what I'm talking about on a certain couple topics. But I think in general, I know what's going on, and tracking is definitely like a major issue. But overall, like if you're increasing your ad spend and your revenue on your website is increasing, at the same time, then I think you're making probably some pretty good moves. But definitely I don't want to get too deep into the Facebook ad stuff. So we'll probably cut there, just FYI a little bit. Yeah.
I think more like where I really want to go with this, right, is obviously a big part of social media strategy from, the big 1,000-foot perspective is goals, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what are we trying to get out of this in the first place? And
I think that was another thing I wanted to touch on too, by the way.
Sure.
Which is that, because I think we got real deep into, after you build a good looking Instagram page and you get some influencers involved, maybe you have some minor ads for brand awareness running. Then I said the next thing is maybe ads for conversion. But I do want to caveat, we do have clients that conversion is not their goal. Sales is not their goal. Maybe that brand awareness could be their goal. I have people that are, run big conventions or, or nonprofits. And yes, maybe like indirectly some type of sale down the road is their goal, but it's not the goal of our agency working with them. Our goal is the brand awareness. We want to grow a bigger audience, get the audience involved more, reach more people, have more people know about the brand. That's the thing. I mean, or take into consideration, I've worked with like some photographers and artists and things like that. Maybe they are trying to sell some art and photography, but their main goal is to look more reputable on social. So I don't want to completely like disregard people that have that as their objective, because it's a very common objective.
No, in fact, I would go the other direction where like that really ideally should be a big part of the goal for social media management, as opposed to just running conversion-based
I mean,
ads,
let's not forget about celebrities.
Right.
I mean, listen, maybe they're trying to sell stuff, again, indirectly.
Well, sure.
But their main part is, I want to grow. I want to create content that's engaging. And I want to build my brand.
We've worked with a couple of celebrities. I want to like actually athletes, I think is the big one for this, because if you're an athlete who is well known, you're going to get sponsorships, you're going to get endorsements, you're going to get invited to a lot of things. And, it could very well be that you make more money off of those things than you do actually playing a sport or competing athletically. So, I mean, we live in a day and age now where people have built their entire industry just off of being known. So that brand awareness is everything for certain types of businesses.
This like the sports, athletes, right? Athletes are super fun to work with because the type of content they put out can be
Sure.
super entertaining. But I mean, I guess at the same time, if you're working with like a comedian, they're
Hmm.
funny. So
Hmm.
they have that type of content to put out. Everyone usually has some type of shtick that they're able to, emphasize on. But I would say with like celebrities or art, let's just say artists in general, or sports, athletes, they don't want to. I think the majority of them don't want to spend the time.
Hmm.
So a lot of times they'll have like an assistant,
Sure.
or they'll make their PR do it,
Yeah.
and that's not their expertise. I mean, listen, I have friends in PR, and I think most of them say that's not their expertise.
Yeah.
Which is why, honestly, that's why some of them are friends with me,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
we're trading off. I need someone to do PR. They need someone to do social, But yeah, it's just a super time intensive, and it's not something that they want to deal with. So we'll do it for them. But those, I think, are the general, like, really broad umbrellas, like phases.
Hmm.
You know,
Well, you started to touch on this, and it made me
Sure.
think of kind of the flip side of it, which is it is really easy when you said it's kind of easy to create engaging content around, say, an athlete, right? Because they're just
Right.
doing amazing stuff
Right.
all the time. But that gets into it made me think about was it's really easy to tell this story around somebody who's entertaining, right? But we have other client, like you were talking about soft drinks, where it's like
Yeah.
it's a can of liquid
Dude,
or a
it's
bottle of
it's a
liquid,
soft drink.
right?
Like, yeah.
And how do you create an engaging story around this thing,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where we shine, right? Because we're professionals and
Yeah.
it's our job to do that. But telling a story around, to me, this is like a puzzle that I love to solve, right? I do it on websites, you do it on social media, but we're both doing it. And I like looking at this thing and going, okay, this is the thing. Who is the person who uses this thing? And what is the ideal version of the lifestyle with this thing, right? And then we figure out, we hopefully, depending on who the client is, we create a photo shoot. We figure out like what the ideal version of this story is, right? Like, how do you take a soft drink when there's so many soft drinks coming out every year,
Yeah.
and tell a story about what makes this one different, right? Who uses it? Who drinks this? Where do they drink it? Why do they drink it? What is the thing that makes this compelling? And, for some clients, like athletes, they're already doing that. But I mean, soft drinks, makeup, clothing, in large part, these are commodity products, right? Like you make the thing and then you put your label on it and now it's yours. But you may be getting your soft drink filled and bottled at the same place that is filling and bottling 1,000 other soft drinks.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to market them, right? So this is where I think social media is actually this hugely invaluable tool, because you have this chance to create a story around this product and then tell it over and over and over again on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. But I want to hear you talk about that a little bit, just because I see you
First
do
of
so
all,
much of
hopefully
it.
the client comes on board with some type of branding agency that's worked with them previously to kick it off.
Hopefully.
Or else we're doing that for
Yeah.
them, which is fine.
Yeah.
We can do that. This is why influencers are so important, though. They help tell your story.
Sure.
You want to build a
Who you associate with is part of your story.
You want to have them help tell your story, and you're going to basically build a profile of the activities they do, the lifestyle they live. Like, does that match up with the branding of your product?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of the roadmap that you take. And then again, I mean, a lot of that also is going to go along with your own messaging, like whatever you're writing on your own posts or stories or reels or etc. Hopefully a branding agency has worked with like the new client potentially, but a lot of times like we'll do it ourselves, and that's totally fine.
Well,
But
I
go
think
ahead.
like running social media campaigns, building a website, these are all things you could hire somebody in India or Pakistan or something to do. But
Yeah, I mean, not a great job, but yeah, sure.
There's a big difference, right? There's technical execution there, which probably isn't really great. But besides the technical execution of this stuff, it's like, well, what are you really getting at?
Yeah.
Right? What is the story that you're trying to tell? And when I see us do that on social media, like this is really what we do. Is I think a lot of it is just sitting down and talking to the customer or to our client and listening to them. For people who are trying to DIY this, I feel like the hard part is, in a lot of cases, is they don't have somebody to talk to who will really listen to them and knows how to understand like what the important parts are, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times when I sit down with the client or when I'm on a call with you, we ask the client to just tell us about their brand or their company, and they'll just sort of rattle on for a couple of minutes, and inside of that, we'll take some notes. And out of that 10 minutes, we'll probably get 2 or 3 sentences about what they do. We'll get a lot of information about what they do, but this tiny little chunk of it is what's really valuable. Or maybe they say something, but when we hear them say it, we think, oh, you just need to twist this at a slightly different angle. And now you're telling people why what you're doing is different than everybody else.
Yeah. I think we're kind of hitting on one big takeaway from what I'm hearing you say is client size matters. If it's a big client, they're going to come on board with branding and messaging ready to go.
Sure.
If they're in between, maybe they've had like a decent branding agency or PR agency come on and help them. If they're like 90%, listen, the majority of businesses are going to be small to medium-sized businesses. There's only so many Cokes and Pepsis and Sprites in the world, but for this like majority of small to medium-sized businesses, I do think that their messaging needs to be massaged. It needs to probably be catered a little bit better for the website, and everything needs to really become succinct. And we're building out content, and when we're building out influencer campaigns, and when we're building out ads. I mean, when you're going to do an ad that's directly like why you should buy it. This is why you should buy us, Messaging and storytelling are super important. And it's right off the bat, the first conversation. I'm pretty sure that in the questionnaire, we send a client questionnaire to people like, what are your brand colors? What is your, main messaging? Like blah, blah, blah. We want to know what the voice is too.
Sure.
Obviously look and feel's fine. We'll get that. We can nail that. We have the photography. Skill set to handle any type of photography, but like messaging in terms of like, how is the voice? What's the age group? Like, are they hip and slick? Or are they like fancy and like higher end kind of stuff? So, but yeah, I mean, to your point, like story matters right off the bat. Like,
okay. So with the storytelling aspect, sometimes we get clients who are working on a fairly new business, although sometimes small to medium size can be a pretty decent size, well-established business. You might have been in business for 10 or 20 years and make $50 million a year in revenue, and you can still be an SMB. You're not a Coke or a Pepsi yet, but you still have a real business.
True.
But you're trying to get online, and you haven't really tried to tell this story in, like we were saying, this very succinct way yet, where you have this much time to get somebody's attention. I always laugh when like we send out our questionnaires to people, and sometimes people are really organized and they come back with a brand Bible and they're like, we've done this already. But sometimes they don't even read the questionnaire.
No.
And it just comes through in a conversation with whoever we're talking to. Hopefully, one of the people at the top who can make decisions about where are we going to take this? What's the story we're going to tell? And
also, I think budgetary constraints matter a lot even with storytelling.
How can you be scrappy about this?
Well, I'll have a client come on board who's like, oh, I think that my audience is X, Y, and Z, but my budget is only, let's just say, not the most. Well, I think we can really only target maybe X then.
Yeah.
Because if we're going after X, Y, and
that's
Z,
a big part of strategy.
We're never going to accomplish any of the goals unless we're just going to focus fully on like one aspect first. It doesn't mean like you can't do those things later. But that's probably the last thing I want to say is that, taking bite-sized chunks off of doing social media strategy.
When you say bite-sized chunks, to me, what that means is focus, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think you might actually have an advantage being smaller or newer. Because if you've ever worked in a big corporation, the more people you have, the more people want to be involved in the decision.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of money and you can do a lot of things, it becomes tempting to try and do everything all at once, which is pretty tough. It's
Yeah.
not impossible, but it's certainly better to do one or two or three things really well
Yeah.
than a dozen
I
different
mean, that's why I
things kinda
mentioned
poorly.
phases in the beginning, and we can
Sure.
wrap it up with the phases. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the first thing, you want to get your look and feel down, and then you want to get some influencers involved. You want to get your ads going, and then you want to start scaling up certain parts of those phases more and more. But I think, you know, if you're small to medium size, let's say again, you want to just start with look and feel, getting that attention in the first 5 seconds so that your ads that you start to do, even if it's smaller budget, are really effective.
Mhm.
And then from there, introduce a little bit of influencers, make sure that, you know, the storytelling with them matches up with the storytelling of you, and then slowly invest more in each of those and really get the right people involved.
Mhm.
Get the right photographer who can do it right. Get the right ad manager who can do it right. I mean, when I was first doing ads, I probably went through like 15 guys before I found a guy who could do it the way I wanted it done.
Sure.
You know, so, but yeah, man, I mean, again, we could talk about a million. There are so many aspects we could go
Sure,
down
sure.
avenues with, but I do think it would be nice to have some people on that are specific to the avenue,
100%.
and we could have like pick their brain a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also maybe next time I can ask you about websites.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
You want
Well,
to give us a send off here? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us. Again, my name's Kellis Landrum. This is Kenny Bost. We are
Hey, guys.
from True North Social. You can check us out at truenorthsocial.com. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to know anything, please leave something down in the comments. We'll try and get back to you as best we can.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
Thanks,
been great having you. Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.